Aloha guys, welcome back. And for those who are just joining my channel, join me and be intrigued as I read 411 unsolved cases of people just vanishing from national parks, national forests, and urban areas, who are either never seen again or found dead under mysterious circumstances. Some of them even come back to life, after like 14 days. Isn't that amazing? I know it is to me. But without further ado, I want to get to the next story in this book right here, Sobering Coincidence by David Paulides himself. This story today is going to be about a young man named Trevor Boehm. Boehm. I'm not sure how it is. It's Boehm. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. But anyway, this is a young man who, and by the way, let me show you. I don't do this often, but here's a picture of him. You can see him. Man, that's him right there. Okay, this is the guy right here. Okay, I guess you could say his name is Trevor Boehm. I'm not sure. But anyway, he went missing on 11/05/2008 in Evanston, Illinois. He was at the age of 20 years old when he disappeared. Young guys. Okay, David Paulides said in the book that, as a parent who has dropped two kids off at college at different points in my life, there is nothing more challenging and nerve-wracking than leaving your child in the environment that you really don't know where. Well, there is no doubt that many parents have gone through the vetting process of colleges, maybe made a few visits and then arrived home to allow the young adult time to come to a needed decision. Once they are off at school, they are really on their own, outside of your control. Can you remember Parents Day at each university I visited? I can remember Parents Day at each university I visited. It was a day of great anticipation and to see how your young adults had integrated into their new environment. I will never be able to comprehend the anxiety and depression that centered on Trevor Boehm's parents when they arrived at Northwestern University on November 8, 2008 for Parents Day. Trevor was a Colorado kid. He grew up in Montrose and attended the Colorado School in Colorado Springs. He concentrated on the arts and focused primarily on theater. Trevor enrolled at Northwestern University in Evanston, Illinois, and in the fall of 2007, he was living on the 5th floor in the Willard Residential Dormitory. He at one point dropped out of school, left campus, and then re-enrolled the following fall as a communications major, living in a 4th floor room in the South Mid Squad Hall on campus. Excuse me. The general consensus around campus and back at his high school was that Trevor was a very, very nice person who came from a tight-knitted family. On November 8, 2008, Trevor's parents traveled from Colorado and arrived in Evanston for Parents' Day. They called their son, got no answer. They went to his room and couldn't locate him. They searched for his green Schwinn bicycle with oversized tires and couldn't locate it. The parents got nervous and suspicious and reported Trevor as a missing person. Friends on the friends on campus stated that this was totally outside the bounds of his behavior, and they were puzzled about him being missing. The university pulled the records on Trevor's pass card and found that it had not been used since November 5th. He had been unaccounted for almost 3 days. Nothing of great importance happened in the search until approximately 11:30 a.m. on November 13th. Students walking along Lake Michigan in the area known as the landfill, very near campus, found Trevor's suede coat, university identification card, keys, and cell phone on the rocks near the water. The United States Coast Guard immediately deployed a boat and helicopter to search the coastal waters. The search produced nothing. I'll again remind readers that in many of the cases I've written about in the past, victims are found without their cell phone or electronics. It seems odd that Trevor's university identification stayed in the coat pocket and near where the rest of his items were found. On November 16, 2008, someone thought they saw a body in the water, 7 miles south of Northwestern near Montrose Harbor. It was Trevor. There were very few details released about the condition of the body or the specifics of the toxicology. The coroner did state that Trevor died from drowning and the manner of death was still under investigation. I never found another article confirming any specifics of his death. Where was Trevor Boehm when he disappeared? Did he ride his bicycle near the rocks and fall into the lake? Doubtful. There are paths in this area that are quite a distance to the water and separated by rocks. This is a case of another brilliant student who disappears under suspicious circumstances and is found in Lake Michigan with no witness to the event. Some important points that are not answered. How long was the body in the water? What was he wearing when found? Did he have any injuries? Had he been drinking alcohol or using medication? What was his activity just before he disappeared? Where is his bicycle? Yep. Okay, now with this story right here, it is very strange because, an exemplary student, he was going to that university in Illinois, and then one day he just decides to drop out of school, and I think it's like I say about maybe, so he drops out of school, and then later on he enrolls again for another type of course. And then all of a sudden, he was gone. When the parents got to the house, when the parents got to the university and went to his dorm, they couldn't find. They looked for his bike, all this stuff, and they couldn't find anything, let alone him. Then all of a sudden, they start seeing trails of his belongings along the ridge of the lake, and then later on, they found his body in the water. And just like David Paulides said, obviously something that was suspicious about his death was so confusing to the coroners, they decided not to release any documents on his death as far as the coroner's report and the toxicology, from the autopsy. What to say about something like this? I don't know. I just know that this young man disappeared just like all the others. He was young. He was a college student, just like all the others. This is a key point in a lot of these cases where a lot of young college men seem to be vanishing without any reason. And obviously the coroners, when they look at the body, they notice something strange. They pick up on things. And it's so strange, they don't want nobody to know about it. They also don't want anyone to know that they can't figure it out. Now, the one thing I did I made a comment about something to one of David Paulides' friends on Facebook. We were, going back and forth with some stuff about his books, and I said that whatever this is, whatever this is, it's very clever. It's like it toys with us. It toys with our minds, and it toys with our emotions by letting us know what it can do, how dangerous it is, but it's also smart enough to do what it does without leaving any evidence whatsoever. And that part scares me because that lets you know that whatever it is, it can't be stopped. Um, so, I mean, I've heard of like stories about mists that seem to have a mind of its own that can, like, there was a cop I heard about who was in his squad car. He saw this mist coming over a path near where he was parked, and it said it went over the car to the back, and then it just kept going. There was also some footage that they had of this same type of mist that hovered near an animal, and with the next frame, the animal was gone. It was almost as if this mist was able to pick up the animal and take it somewhere. Weird stuff. But yeah, whatever this thing is, it's very intelligent, and it is intelligent and smart enough to do what it does without leaving any evidence whatsoever. It'll leave you clues to let you know what it's capable of, and it's capable of some very crazy shit. But at the same time, it won't let you know who it is, and it's very clever in that area. I mean, 100% accuracy every single time, and this has been going on for centuries. Okay, it dates all the way back to this Eskimo tribe I told you about in one of my past videos. But this is just something that just keeps going and going and going, and it knows it can get away with everything, even if it gives you a little bit of information that will let you know. It'll give you an idea of what it could be because of the nature of the killing and the nature of the evidence that you find. Like the tiny little bone fragments that's found scattered all over the ground in a certain area. What kind of animal do you know does that? Nope. The animal I know on Earth can devour a body, a full-blown human body, and then next thing you know, after that, there's nothing left but a bunch of bone. There's never any blood. There's never any muscles from the blood. No flesh, no nothing. Not even brain matter. Whatever it is, it eats the person whole to the point where it's just chopping on it until there's nothing left but tiny little pieces of bone. And that right there is probably the strangest part of the entire mystery, where something is able to devour a human body and leave nothing but bone fragments. And other strange stuff where I heard about this one man who, when they found the pants and the tibia bone inside the leg part of the pants were the belt was unbuckled. So obviously the person was trying to take off his pants. But why? Because there was nothing else left. Nothing but the pants and a tibia bone inside the leg. And that was it. But by the fact that they said that it was like he melted into his own pants and the pants just flopped to the ground like this. Like let's just say the person was standing up and he just either melted into his pants or he just faded away. And the pants was still in that position of you standing up, and it just fell to the ground. Just straight down, and just flopped down into this little just a little pile of, it's just weird. But yeah, whatever, like I said before, whatever this thing is, it doesn't want you to know who it is. Even if you get close enough to even think of what it could be, that still doesn't mean that you're going to figure out what it is, and it knows that. It really does. It knows that it can get away with anything without any one of us ever finding out. And look how long it's been. It's been happening for centuries, and no one has ever been able to figure out what it was. Now there is this one story about a creature. It's like a some type of like ape-like creature that lives in the Himalayan mountains. But this is before man, and the Himalaya mountains was called something else centuries ago, and it was renamed another name. So I'm thinking that whatever is in those mountainy areas, like the little boy that was found 12 miles away 19 hours later, like practically alive in a frozen creek bed. I'm thinking that maybe a creature like that must have carried him from one point to another. But these creatures probably died out centuries ago, or maybe they're still around. Who knows? Or maybe they're living in the mountains. And whatever this thing is, it uses so many of our earthly history against us, and that's a clever thing to do, because we never figure out what it is, because it's something different every single time. And sometimes it's like a pattern, and you see the same thing happen to each person, but it's like you can figure out that it's connected to a lot of the folkloric legends, that surround this planet, but still, everybody looks for facts. Everybody looks for proof. Sometimes none of that is gonna help you solve what's going on here. That's what I believe, because if that was the case, that would have happened by now. David Paulides puts out all the facts, and the facts lead your brain in the direction of trying to figure out what it is. And sometimes you can speculate, oh, maybe it's this, or maybe it's that. But when you say something that's out of the ordinary, people, they back away. They're like, it can't be that. That's impossible. It can't. Trust me, it's possible. We just have to. It's like I said in my last post. Because of the fact that the government doesn't want us to learn anything about earthly history, and what roamed on this planet before us, it's kind of unsettling, because all they want you to know about is history of man. And I'm not saying, like I said before, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but there's too much going on this planet for us not to know that. We see it happening. We hear the stories. The stories obviously come from something. How can every story that you hear that everyone say is folklore, or a myth, or a fabricated story for a movie or a book or whatever, those stories had to have come from something, from like thousands of years ago, so just like TV shows, you would be surprised how many TV shows are actually based on true events. Okay, for instance, The Blacklist is one of my favorite shows. I don't know if any of you guys watch that show, The Blacklist, with James Spader. James Spader, who played a werewolf in that movie Wolf with Jack Nicholson. I found out by watching Dateline after the show went off that there was actually a real life Raymond Reddington. Okay, and I was like, wow, he was some Russian spy, or whatever you want to call him, or some type of Russian crime lord. I'm not sure. But it was just the fact that there was a such person as Raymond Reddington, and that show was based on his life. So when you look at something that is either a movie like about some type of creature, a movie about some type of person, 9 times out of 10, they got that information from something that was based on true events. Just like the Wolfman. I just saw the Wolfman about maybe 20 minutes ago on the Sci-Fi Channel. And there have been stories about people seeing these upright, hairy, dog-looking creatures running across their yard or in the woods somewhere, chasing after animals, for food. Okay, just like the story. I think I told you this about this one story I heard on my last broadcast about a farmer who was in his shed working with some tools, and he happened to hear all this noise, all this stampering. He looks through the window and sees a coyote or a wolf running across his yard at top speed, like he was getting away from something or chasing after something. But all of a sudden, he saw this upright, hairy-looking dog thing, running after that wolf or fox or whatever it was. Okay, on its hind legs. So he actually saw this, but ain't no telling what people would say after they hear he saw a werewolf running across an upright dog running across his yard. They're gonna be like, oh, he was crazy, or he was drinking some moonshine or something like that. It's only because people who have never seen it before just automatically say, oh, I don't believe it because it's not true. That was a fake story. They instantly say stuff like that because they've never experienced it themselves. Okay, I can't even tell you how many times I've been told that when I told someone that I saw a ghost, or I told someone that I saw a UFO. The one person that I told that to, they said, oh, you had to been smoking something. I said, I don't smoke. Well, you had to been drinking. I don't drink. I mean, I do, but I drink occasionally, on special occasions. But I don't drink all the time to where it's going to make me hallucinate. And it's like I said before about hallucinations. There really is no such thing as hallucinations. That's just a word that the man came up with, or doctors, just to have a reason to make money off of that. Hallucinations, to me, like I said, it's a window to the world that is blinded by our own eyes. Okay, there's certain things that we can't see because our brain and our minds are not connected to the earth itself. Our mind, body, and spirit is not connected to the earth itself. So that's why a lot of the stuff that is actually there, we can't see. Okay? And we're wired to believe that all these things are folklore, all these things are just myths or, whatever. That's how they got our minds working because they never taught this stuff in school. They never divulge any of this information. The government tries to hide all this stuff, the truth behind the Egyptian pharaohs and all that stuff. For them to find these like skulls with elongated domes, for elongated craniums. I mean, how do you explain that? This is actual file footage. If you go on internet and look up Egyptian alien skulls found in tombs or whatever, you will definitely see some photos, and it's weird. They literally found these in Egyptian tombs. So what does that tell you about our own pharaohs? Obviously there's something more going on around here. And all these pictures you find on Google Earth of like UFOs being under the water, or these strange. You'll see UFOs sitting like in a mountainy area from a satellite photo. And then all of a sudden, after like maybe a couple of days or maybe even a week, it somehow disappears because the government somehow blocked it. They airbrushed it out. It happens all the time. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it on that story. But yeah, that was a pretty strange story. So something happened to that young man from between point A and point B. The question that really boggles my mind is what happened to him. And that's the one thing that's so scary. When the person just gets up and just leaves, and something happens to them that we don't know about, and that's what makes this whole thing so weird. And that's the part I hate, that we can't never seem to figure out what happens to the person before he died. And they're counting on this. That's the reason why they are so good at it, because they know we'll never figure it out. And they do it in such a way that is so out of the norm and so beyond beyond logical thinking, and it's just one big disaster and one big mystery. And it'll continue to be a mystery if we keep looking towards a person, a human, abducting our loved ones and children, or serial killers. If we keep putting all that in the equation, we'll never figure it out. Trust me, it has nothing to do with that. If you look, like I said before, if you look at their track record over the past couple of centuries, dating all the way back to Jack the Ripper, it took them hundreds of years to find out that Jack the Ripper was an actual doctor. They finally figured out who he was. But this man has been dead and gone for like hundreds of years, okay? But they still found out who he was. But that's only because, yeah, of course, back then they didn't have DNA science, so of course they would probably never would have figured it out anyway until the last second. But if we keep our minds on what a human can do to a person if they get kidnapped or murdered, we'll never figure this out, because I'm telling you right now, it is not human, whatever it is. And if it is a human, it's a human from another dimension who has very strange, extraordinary powers, where this person can kill someone without laying a hand on them. And I'm gonna bring it. I know I keep saying this. I keep bringing it up again. Perfect example is Henry McCabe. Okay, whatever we heard on that voicemail, you heard a growl and you heard a man say, "Stop it." So it was either the man that was able to do that to him, or it was this creature. Okay, somehow it has the ability to torture someone from the inside out without touching them, without laying a hand on them. So it obviously uses its mind to mess with the nerves in the body, and how it can just disrupt them to the point where you just feel all this pain all over. And that could have been the reason why he was moaning and groaning in pain. The only mystery is how come, if he was feeling all that pain, how come you couldn't see no sign of it when they found the body? There was no stab wounds, no gunshot wounds. There was no sign of trauma in the body, but he was just dead. He obviously was overcome by the pain from this trauma, and he died from that. I didn't know that's possible, but you would have to be able to touch that man in order to make that happen, or put some type of strange chemical or drug in the system that messes with your nervous system, or whatever the case may be. There's even a drug that can numb all of your senses to where not your senses, but it immobilizes you to where you can feel all the pain, but you can't do nothing about it. Yeah, so I saw that on I think it was Law Abiding Citizen, where he injected some drug in his system, and after a couple of seconds, his whole body was just like, it shuts down his immobilization, and he was feeling all the pain from his torture, where he cut off his eyelids, and he was doing all kinds of crazy stuff to him. He could feel all the pain, but he couldn't do nothing about it at all. He couldn't move. It was just weird, and that is an actual drug that can do that. I think I've heard about that, so it, like I said, it's one big mystery. I don't know what to say about all that, but as far as this man here goes, Trevor, that's a complete mystery, because all I know is that he was at school, he drops out, he comes back, and then all of a sudden, boom, he's just gone. He just gets up, takes his bike with him. He was probably going out for a routine ride around the campus, and somewhere between the wherever he was last seen, or where he last was in the lake, something happened, and he ended up dead. The question is, what happened? That's the number one question of the day, people. If you can give me some answers, you know what to do. Comment below. Hit me with a thumbs up, and I'll get back with you every single time. So, and for you, Kim, hope you like these videos too, as well as the other one I sent. So, I just want to say you're welcome for thanking me for using your story, and I hope you definitely got more. Because if you got something on the Cast 2 disappearance, hit me up. Let me know if you can find something on that, because it happened in your area in Australia. So, like I said, if you got something on that, if you can get some information on it, I would love for you to send it to me so I can post it on my on my page, because it kind of sits in that same area of all these other disappearances, because they just vanish without a trace. So I will post that on here, that way you can kind of get a good idea of what I'm talking about. All right, so gotta go. See you when I see you. Aloha, mahalo, and a hui ho. Peace.